Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. Today I want to make a quick little showcase on my Power Siphon Mines Gambler being a charge stacking slayer in disguise, more or less, right? Charge stacking slayer, one of my favorite archetypes based around the Relicash Impatience, count as having maximum number of endurance, frenzy, and power charges, and if you combine that with the Maven belt, we're gonna have currently 12 times 4, so 48 total charges, if we don't count in inspiration charges or whatever, you know. So this is possible thanks to Forbidden Flame Flash. We are playing here in the Legacy of Phrecia event, and that means in order to get the Masterful form, we need Forbidden Flame Flash, and we also need to be a Duelist. And I think the best, I think it was like Paladin, Aristocrat, and the Gambler, and I think the Gambler has actually the best notes over here, especially with reversed odds. Hits have 50% chance to treat monster elemental resistance as inverted, same as the Mastery over here in the Elemental Mastery, so 75% chance to treat enemy monster elemental resistance values as inverted. Gives for quite a nice damage boost as well as the Growing Accumulator with the chance to deal double or triple damage. Good. Map showcase first. I just randomly found the T17 map. I think I've only done one T17 map on my Ignite build, and I have not done one over here, so I would say we just YOLO it and see how this build basically performs. I personally am not a big fan of a miner character, but I would say I wasn't a big fan because nowadays I really actually enjoy this kind of archetype. It's actually the second mine build that I'm playing because I leak started a Hexblast Mine Scavenger, and I gotta say, I really enjoy the mine playstyle. I don't know why exactly, but I think the main change or the main difference here is basically the automation support with detonate mines. That means that it's just a one-button build. You just throw your mines and they automatically detonate, and with Power Siphon targeting just random monsters nearby, and then fork support for better clear, makes just up for like a very, very good, what do you say, yeah, build overall. And here we have the Depressor Shield. And if you're wondering why I'm not picking up any loot, that is mainly because I'm pretty much done with the event for now, just because I feel like it's not really that good of an event. I mean, it's an event, it's not a league. It's still Settlers since freaking 8 months, right? But the way I think is like every time I want to try out a build, I know exactly it's not going to be a thing next season anymore. Same with like the mapping strategies. I've tried out a ton of these mapping strategies, but in the end of the day, you know that the idols hopefully are going to be gone next season, even though it's fun. But it's just so much power spike, and I feel like that people that are more casually in PoE will never have any like lots of currency, and the ones that are no living Path of Exile, they can literally farm like a mirror a day with some ridiculous what do you say, idle setups, right? So let's do the boss over here, Katarina. As you see, the damage is actually quite nice, and the build scope, like the scaling opportunity, is actually really, really high as well, because I'm currently sitting on 12 power charges, and realistically or technically, you can even get 15 out of those, right? Because I'm still missing like a double power charge helmet, I'm missing a power charge ring, and with the Calandra's Touch, I also get like an additional power charge over there, right? But the build overall is like very, very tanky, has pretty good single target, and the way we are actually scaling that damage, since we get a lot of like these frenzy charges and the more damage and stuff like that, we just use a lot of like Abyss Jewels to gain all the flat damage out of my, out of this attack basically, right? I don't even know what these bosses are basically doing. I'm like barely ever farming T17s, not even in a regular league. But as you see, I'm probably getting hit by everything that I shouldn't get hit, and I'm still surviving because of the absorption charges giving me, I think we're in like 100, what is it, 30% or something damage recouped as elemental damage thanks to the absorption charges. Then we have the 12 endurance charges, which also means that we're gonna have a permanent 48% less damage taken from physical and from elemental. We are playing this on CI, so chaos damage doesn't matter, so it's just a very, very, very tanky build with a lot of damage and a lot of scaling towards the end game. But as you see, even though it's my first T17 map, and I have no idea what these bosses are even doing, you see that the build is performing quite well. We're still gonna do the rest of the map just so you see more of the clearing, and we're running this, as I said, with the Locust Mine support with Power Siphon and Fork, which means that every time my Power Siphon hits an enemy, it's going to split and then hit like more monsters. But it's more or less, you need to throw the mines just in front of you, and they basically take do all the clearing, and yeah, it's pretty satisfying and actually very, very strong. I can definitely see doing this as a form of a league starter, and I know that you guys are saying now, yo, you need Ralakesh boots, deal 30 divines or something on league start, you cannot league start this. It's always the way, like, depending on how you approach the game and what are you able to do, right? Because, yes, I know Ralakesh boots in league start scenarios are like, I don't know, like 30 divines or something, but you don't necessarily have to start as a power charge stacker. You can still just start as a slayer with like lightning strike or anything like that, and then later on, just as soon as you farm like the first 30 divines, which could be day 3 or so, or day 4 of the league, depending on how good you are, you just buy this, the Ralakesh boots, and then basically have the build going, and then work from there with upgrading all these like power charges. But as you see, build's actually a breeze, really enjoying this one. And the good thing about the power charge stacking Slayer archetype is just that it's like a template character that works with almost everything. I played this as a Winter Orb character, I played it as a Penance Brand character, I did an elemental hit of the Spectrum, now I'm playing it as a Power Siphon Mines build, so this just archetype just works for everything, and as you see, we can just tank everything and absolutely no problem whatsoever. Hopefully, KW. Good, I think that's pretty much the map showcase, and let's get out of here and let's explain the bits and pieces of the build. The POB of the build is obviously in the description below. So, how does this build even work? As I said, main piece, Ralakesh Impatience. Count as having maximum number of endurance charges, power and frenzy charges. So if you go over charges, you see I have 12 out of 12 endurance charges, power and frenzy charges, even though I don't physically have them, right? I just count as having them. And with then using the Badge of the Brotherhood means our maximum frenzy charges equals to our maximum power charges, and with the Forbidden Flame Flash, it basically says the Masterful form that your maximum endurance charges is equal to your maximum frenzy charges. So what we are basically end up doing is we are scaling as many power charges as possible. That's why our tree looks a little bit weird here, getting infused, getting the instability, as well as getting overcharged. So we have 3 power charges naturally, plus 3 from the tree makes it 6. Then the Void Battery makes it 7. A Will Clash with the Power Charge Corruption makes it 8, basically. Then we have the Power Charge Ring, if you have one, plus the Calandra's Touch. Then we have the Graven Secret that gives you 1 max power charge. Then we have a Supreme Vision. When Discipline is your only aura, you get 1 max power charge. You get the idea. You want to get as many power charges as possible, and then have the same amount of frenzy charges thanks to the amulet. And if you have the amulet, then with Masterful form you get the same amount of endurance charges. And it also allows us to use the Maven's Belt, which says gain absorption charges instead of power charges. With this belt, we can no longer gain power charges thanks to like power charge and crit or something. We would get absorption charges instead. But since we're running the Ralakesh boots, we count as having maximum power charges anyway, so we don't rely on generating power charges, so we can use this belt to generate absorption charges instead, while keeping our power charges, right? And this is basically how you get at these like charge stacking builds. And then we're gonna get all the benefits of charge stacking: mana regen, we get critical strike chance per power charge, we get critical strike multiplier by per power charge, we have increased damage per power charge with the mastery, 3% increased damage per endurance frenzy or power charge, and now currently I have 36 of those. which is over 100% increased damage. Then we have on the Elegant Hubris, with the influence by Caspiro, we gain Supreme Ostentation, but there is also notes like increased energy shield per power charge, increased damage per endurance charge. Here I have another energy shield per power charge here as well. So this is basically how you can scale those things quite well. Then on the Void Battery, we have increased spell damage per power charge, and thanks to the Power Siphon, we have increase and reductions to spell damage, also applies to attack damage from this skill at 150% of the value. So now the spell damage that we gain from the power charges on the Void Battery is getting transformed into increased attack damage by a 1.5 multiplier for Power Siphon, right? Then we have items like Malachai's Loop, where you basically lose all power charges and reaching maximum power charges. It doesn't matter because it's just something that we physically not have, but we always have them permanently up with the relocation patience. So this shield gives us 2 to maximum power charges, and we lose the complete downside here because we never lose the power charges, right? We always count as having maximum. So this gives us just flat 2 max power charges. Then the Will Clash with increased elemental damage per power charge and block spell damage per power charge. So we are currently having spell block cap with 75%. So all of these items play super well together, and the rest is just like the only 2 rare items basically is a chest where I decided to go with a Twilight Regalia just as much energy shield as possible. With the Essence modifier, you take 10% reduced extra damage from critical strikes per endurance charge, means once we have 10 endurance charges, we are basically crit immune. With the current version, I have 12, so I'm way over crit immune. And then on the gloves, we're basically having accuracy per frenzy charge, and that basically gets us almost hit capped, since the Power Siphon is still an attack, more or less, right? So as you see, everything in this build is based around the Frenzy, Power, Endurance, and in that case, even the Absorption Charges. And the Absorption Charges basically give you 12% of ally damage recouped as Energy Shield. That is basically the main reason why I decided to go CI on this build, so we can stack Energy Shield. And since we are playing this with the Supreme Ostentation, where we say we ignore the attribute requirements, as you see, I have just a little bit of dex left, opens up for the possibility to just tattoo each of the basically of the attribute nodes, because we don't need them, right? So currently I'm like thinking, either, since this build is a bit res starved, that's why I go with like Prismatic Heart, Large Cluster Jewels, you can basically tattoo like cold resistance on all these like dex nodes. Since we're having the risk aversion with the 50% chance to avoid elemental ailments and avoid being stunned, I decided to put in 5 tattoos with avoid being stunned, so we're now basically stun immune of that, right? On the fire ones, I think I have just life regen. Since we're in the S build, we're gonna use the Zealot's Oath for life regen is applied to energy shield instead. All the intelligence nodes I converted into 3% maximum ES, so this build currently has a shit ton of percent increased energy shield, but not really a lot of flat ES. So the chest alone, if I unequip that, I'm going down to 3.8k ES, and with a 900 ES chest, we're going up to like 7,500, so almost doubles my ES pool. Discipline also gives us like a lot of what do you say, flat energy shield. So a Graven Secret with a corruption discipline effect or something would be quite nice. And you might now wonder, why is my auras only like automation, Arctic Armor, Tempest Shield, and Discipline? This is basically because of the Supreme Vision. I'm saying auras from his skills, at least aura skills other than Discipline, are disabled. Arctic Armor, Tempest Shield, and Heralds and stuff, they are not auras, so I can still use them. I cannot use Wrath or anything like that, but therefore we get the 1 maximum power charge, and this is like a crazy multiplier on my build. If I quickly open up my PUB, you're gonna see what happens if I add 1 extra power charge to my build, for example. As I said, I'm missing the power charge on my ring. That would be the next best upgrade. And so currently sitting on like 13 mil DPS on this. So if I just add in a config +1 to maximum power charges, we go from 13 mil to 16 or almost 17. So it's like I don't know, like 20% more damage. If we add another one, so +2, we're sitting on 21 million all of a sudden, like almost doubling my damage, right? If we go 3, we go to 27 almost. So getting these power charges, the more you get, the more and more crazy this build is gonna get in terms of tankiness and damage output. As you see on the EHP, we're 160 plus 1 power is 180, and if we get the 3 power charges that I'm missing, I would be at 251,000 because of all the less damage taken of the endurance charges and ridiculous amounts of recovery coming from the Graven Secret, basically the belt, from the absorption charges. On our flat damage side, it has a bunch of unique jewels. As you see, we're going to go over that in a bit. But in the best case scenario, I would convert my large cluster jewels into voices and just stack as many flat damage jewels, Searching Eye, Abyss jewels as possible, because we have a lot of increased damage, lots of more damage, but not really a lot of flat damage, because the Void Battery itself doesn't really have a lot of flat damage. I got this one for like 3 device or something, which is double corrupted with flat damage. Since we're playing Power Siphon, it is an attack, so flat damage is what we need. So in the best case scenario, these 2 large cluster jewels would be voices, and if my level would be higher, like level 100, here could be another voice as well, and then you just stack Abyss jewel after Abyss jewel after Abyss jewel, and you're gonna see your damage skyrockets really, really hard. So let's go over the setup, the jewel setup that I have over here. Basically, we have here the Light of Meaning with increased energy shield. Basically means that all of the small nodes and like every node in the area gets 3 max ES. And if we compare this with an Unnatural Instinct, all these nodes here get basically allocated thanks to the Unnatural Instinct, and they all gonna have lots of energy shield, right? You can also use this with a tattoo, so you spec into that, tattoo it with 3% ES, then use a Regret Orb, or just gold, whatever, to unspec this, and then the Unnatural Instinct will also take the 3% max ES node over here. Sadly, with the Unnatural Instinct, all the skilled nodes are becoming worthless, so this is why I haven't put a tattoo over here. But as I said, all the other nodes here get taken with the Light of Meaning. Then we have here an Impossible Escape on the Elemental Equilibrium keystone, so we can allocate all these kind of nodes. Here is another one with armor per endurance charge, but this build doesn't really have a lot of armor, like 200, so even though it would be like 100% increased armor, you know, if you don't have any armor, it doesn't really matter too much. But we're gonna mitigate the physical damage in one hand by the endurance charges, as well as modifiers physical damage from hits taken as chaos damage, because we're CI, so that chunk of damage is basically gonna get completely annulled in that case, right? So, good. Elegant Hubris with Caspiro for no attributes. The Impossible Escape for these nodes for increased whatever damage, power charge, whatever. Then Light of Meaning, Unnatural Instinct. Then we have the Forbidden Flame Flash. We have a Watcher's Eye with a double Discipline modifier for ES recovery rate as well as percent ES. The Supreme Vision, and the rest is basically flat damage jewels that you can easily search if you are basically putting in... I'm going to show you that real quick. Why do I always get kicked out of the trade website? Very, very unlucky. So, log in, Steam. Give me 1 second. So, the way I do it, we know that the range attack-based builds are basically Searching Eye jewels. The melee ones are Murderous, the caster ones are Hypnotic, and the minion ones are the Ghastly Abyss jewels. So we're gonna go over here. Then we're gonna put in adds, or at least damage to attacks, and take the one here, Pseudo, adds damage to attacks. So this is basically, now you can basically click on this one to sort for the highest ones. And most of them are going to be bow ones. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna say not, and then damage with bows, and or with bow, and then we say no fire, cold, lightning, physical, and chaos, which basically means that all these Searching Eye jewels that will have bow modifiers are not going to get displayed. Then we're going to click on the damage to attacks, and this is basically how I get my very, very juicy attacks. So this one has 51 average damage, cold, lightning, chaos damage to attacks, and the only one remaining, since we canceled out the bow ones, is going to be the wand ones. since we're playing this with the one basically power siphon, right? So that's how I search for my jewels. They can basically vary from like a couple chaos, a couple divines. It is really based on that. I think the most of my jewels I bought somewhere between like 10 to 100 chaos, because barely anybody is using these kind of jewels, and you can get very nice ones with energy shield. Let me quickly see what other ones I have laying around here. This one with max ES, then we have ES with ES flat damage, at least regen. Here is another one with mana regen, ES regen, and flat ES. So with the Abyss mods, you can get up to like 6 modifiers corrupted on the Surging Eye jewels. So you basically just want to check the most damage with sometimes like when it's like 3 less average damage, but it has like 30 or 40 ES, it's still gonna be better to use those instead, right? Good. So I think we pretty much covered everything about the tree. Let's quickly go over the gem setup. So I have Locust Mine support, Trap and Mine support, Power Siphon, Fork, Charged Mines, and Power Charge on crit. Then we have Automation with Detonate Mines and Enhance support. We have Momentum, Faster Attacks, Shield Charge, and Lightning Warp. Cast when damage taken, Steel Skin, and Bear Trap. We have Discipline, Tempest Shield, Arctic Armor, and Enlighten support. Arcanist Brand, Flame Wall, Sniper's Mark, and Inspiration. And yeah, basically flasks, we have a quartz flask just to move through enemies. We don't have a lot of evade, so we're gonna get hit often, so that's why the gain 3 charges when you are hit by an enemy is like very, very good. Here we have regen, then a little bit for rarity, based on like gold drops and stuff, an enduring mana flask so we can permanently spam our mines. Then I have here a bit of armor here with increased armor, and a rot gut flask. This is actually very nice. We have gain onslaught for 3 seconds per frenzy charge consumed, and based on the charged mine support we're gonna generate frenzy charges, right? And those frenzy charges, we are permanently counting on having max frenzy charges, so what number it says over here doesn't really matter. But what it ends up happening is this flask will basically consume the frenzy charges that I don't need because I have them permanently up, but giving me sometimes like a 20-second onslaught buff. And so that's why I'm saying I'm pretty much having permanent onslaught with this kind of like Quicksilver flask, the unique flask of Rot Gut, basically, right? So this is basically my Quicksilver and my Silver flask at once. Good. MTX wise, I'm having Ghost Veil Helmet for making my ES look like that in my mana. Then I'm having the full Orient set with the Sin Shield, the Leech weapon effect, Orient weapon effect, the Currency Shard for with mirrors, which is basically it looks kind of weird when you're somewhere in the town, so you actually see all your charges. So there you go. Lots of mirrors, man, and it could be like way more if I invest more into the character. Then we have the Pilfering Ring, which counts basically your currency that you have picked up. And yeah, Orient Portal effect. Other than that, I think all the auras are disabled. Then we have the, to go over this one, the Primal Sniper's Mark effect. We have the Oblivion Flame Wall. We have the Celestial Brand effect and the Stygian Steel Skin, Deepwater Shield Charge, Celestial Power Siphon effect, the Innocence Lightning Warp, and Commander's Elegant Hubris with the Malevolent Watcher's Eye. Good. Lots of talking, lots of explaining. Still one of my favorite, all-time favorite archetypes of making a build. I could play this build like any freaking league, basically, because it is so versatile on how you go at it. Either it's Winter Orb or any kind of like charge stacking, right? With vast power nodes where you get increased area of effect per power charge, makes it like really, really good. For Winter Orb, for example, I played this as an attack-based build. Any form of like a spellcaster with a replica Restless Ward for insane movement speed. Like, you can do so much cool things with this build. So I will always return to a build like that as long as they are available in the league. I hope they're gonna keep Settlers in a form, because Settlers is, I think, the only way of getting tattoos right now. And if they would, I don't think they're ever going to get rid of Settlers League, honestly, because the enchants and the recombinators and stuff like that is really, really good. But they need to simplify it so you don't have to spend so much time every single league to build up your entire town with farming all that gold and resources to do that kind of stuff. Or at least, if they're gonna get rid of Settlers, that they're gonna add the tattoos to any other form of league mechanics, so we're still gonna have those available, because tattoos with a combination of Supreme Ostentation is just very, very good. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.